Welcome to the first video in our Intro to Oracle Cards series. In this video, we're going to talk about why working with Oracle cards might be a good choice for you, and how to cleanse your deck and prepare to work with your deck in day-to-day life. So first of all, let's discuss why working with Oracle cards might be a good idea for you in your life. The beauty of Oracle cards is that they really allow us a beautiful sense of freedom in working with cards. In a way, a freedom that you don't necessarily get with tarot, because there is, for the most part, a set system that you're working with. Yes, you are applying your intuition and psychic gifts to this system, but there is definitely a system that it is very helpful for you to know before you start working with the cards. With Oracle cards, each deck is different. Each deck is designed to have a certain feeling, certain meanings by the author and or the artist of each deck. This is great because you can really find the deck that suits you just right. However, this also means you have to search a lot longer to find that deck, and maybe experiment with other decks before you arrive at the deck that you feel you're meant to work with. That being said, it is definitely of value to spend time with the little white book or the larger book that accompanies your deck. But it's also very important to access your psychic gifts and intuitions while you're using the cards. So this is one of the reasons why, or some of the reasons why, working with an oracle deck might be the right choice for you as opposed to working with tarot. It's also very beautiful and wonderful to incorporate working with both tarot and oracle decks in your life, and using them together in readings can be very beneficial and powerful as well. So what are some everyday uses that you can find in an oracle deck? They are absolutely wonderful for daily draws, the same way that you do a daily draw in tarot, just drawing a card and allowing the message to come to you from the card through to your intuition for you to receive the message that would apply for you in everyday life. They're just as effective as tarot cards for use in spreads where you're looking for specific answers or you're looking for insight into certain situations in your life. So they can be great tools and energies to provide insight and aid and help for you for whatever you might be asking, whether you're trying to discover more about your spirit guide or you need to know if you should accept a job offer or leave a certain job or not. They can help you in all areas of your life. And they can be just as effective, and for some people even more effective than tarot cards are. So once you have purchased an oracle deck, or if you have more than one, you've found the deck that feels like it's the right choice for you to use. And you certainly don't have to stick with one deck. I use many oracle and tarot decks in my daily practice, so you don't need to feel that you have to only have one deck. But you will find that there is one deck or two that really is a deck that you're very comfortable working with and that gives you insight and answers very easily. So once you find that deck, just as with a tarot deck, it is very important to cleanse and charge the deck. Having said that, how you choose to cleanse and charge your deck is a personal decision. It can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to, and as long as it feels real and true and authentic to you, that is the cleansing method or ritual that you should use. You will have to cleanse your decks more than once, but especially before you use your deck the first time, it's very helpful to cleanse the deck. Now, the beautiful thing about oracle card books and booklets is that usually they do have a cleansing ritual at the beginning. So if you're new to cleansing, try out the ritual that's included in your book and you might find that it's the right one for you. In many of Doreen Virtue's books, she just has you say a prayer and tap your deck 3 times and envision it being cleansed, and your deck is cleansed. So that's very simple, and it can go from that to as complicated as you want it to. I like to run each of the cards over some smoking sage and some lit candles. I have representations of the 4 elements on my altar as well that I run the cards over. And that is how I choose to cleanse my cards. If you would like to actually see me doing that, you can reference Intro to Tarot, the second video in Intro to Tarot, I believe, which discusses how to cleanse and charge your deck. And just shows, so you can reference that video to see how I cleanse and charge my deck. But I really invite you to explore and experiment, and you will find a method that feels exactly right to you. I don't use any written ritual completely. I go by what I have found has worked for me, which is using sage and incense and candles and representation of the elements. It's just something that feels right to me, and when I'm done, I can feel the energy of my deck as being cleansed and charged, and not carrying anyone else's energy or anything like that. Especially if you're going to read for other people and who will be handling your deck. It's very important to cleanse your deck more often than just when you first receive your deck. So that's something to keep in mind. And that can be something as simple as going like this after you do a tarot reading for someone and envisioning the deck being cleared of that person's energy. It's not that that person has negative energy, it's just that you don't want it interfering with your own readings for yourself and for the next person that you read for as well. So once you've cleansed the deck, then you can start working with your deck, and I really encourage you to get right into working with your deck. I also want to encourage you to, while you will be working with the cards right away, to also read the book that accompanies your oracle deck. I encourage you to do this even more so than those tarot little white booklets, which I kind of feel like are important, but really don't give you that much information. If you have, and I'm just going to show you the book that accompanies this deck, which is Oracle of Shadows and Light by Lucy Cavendish. This is the book that accompanies the deck. It's a well-researched book, and it really, really does give you a lot of insight into the cards themselves and why they've chosen certain fairies, and what the messages are that you can receive from the cards. So I encourage you to start reading this book. Don't feel like you have to read the whole book before you start working with the cards. That's a personal choice, and I've found that if I start working with my cards while I'm reading the book, it doesn't adversely affect my readings in any way. Because remember, just as with tarot, primarily you're working with and accessing your intuition and your psychic abilities, your innate psychic abilities that I assure you each and every one of us have. It's a muscle, it's a tool, and it's a choice that we have whether we choose to exercise it or not. The more that we use it, the more powerful and effective our intuition and our psychic abilities become, because we're listening to that voice and those voices, and so they can be heard and shared with us and with others much more effectively than if we're not listening to that. So don't feel when you start working with the cards, especially if you're a complete beginner, don't feel that you just don't have the gift and you can't figure it out. In a future video in this series, we will be addressing what to do when you look at a card and there's just nothing. Because that does happen to all of us. So I would definitely advise you to read the book that accompanies your deck. Don't make that a stressful thing where you feel like you have to read it in one sitting, or as I said, you can't use your cards before you finish the book. Don't do that at all. It's just good to know a little bit of the background about why the deck was created the way it was. I think that's really helpful to learning more about the energies that are associated with the deck. So just as in tarot, in which I feel that there are energies for each of the cards associated with each deck, and that those energies differ based on the author and the artist that created the deck. And the same thing applies with oracle cards. There are energies that have attached themselves to the deck that want to work with you and that are associated with the cards. And so getting to know those cards is very beneficial. So once you've cleansed your deck, which hopefully after watching this video, if you haven't done for your card, for your deck, you will do. We'll be going into the next video in which we're going to be talking about getting to know the cards that are associated in a part of our oracle deck. So I will see you in part 2 of the Intro to Oracle series. Bye.